What is going on, everyone? It is Jacob Tucker back at it again for another YouTube video. I just graduated college 8 hours ago and we're already back on the grind. So what can I say? Best YouTuber on the planet, best friend on the planet. You know how it goes. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to update your contracts on Testnet and Mainnet on the Flow blockchain. I'm going to do this whole video using Testnet, but if you want to use Mainnet as well, you can totally do that. It's the same exact process. Just a few things along the way that are different that I'll point out as we go. So I'm going to show you two different ways to do this. One is using the Flow CLI and the flow JSON, and then the second way is using the FCL. So there's reasons for doing either one. I'll walk through that as we go through the video, but let's just dive right into it. So in this first part of the video, I'm going to go over the Flow CLI, which is using a terminal. Let me actually CD into my directory really quick. So using a terminal to update your contract, and the flow JSON, which is in my opinion a lot easier. And if you can do it this way, definitely do it this way because it's actually like really easy. So yeah, just that way. So if you have a regular account and you have like you have the private key for it, then I would use this way. But you can only do that, I believe, if you're not using like AWS KMS or something like that, or like Google Key Services or whatever, then you can't do this. But if you have like a normal account that you generated, then you can use this way if you have the private key. So we're gonna type in flow init. So yeah, if you go into it like an empty directory, so I have this directory up right now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in flow init. Well, I guess step one is to install the Flow CLI. So if you haven't done that already, make sure to do that, and then when you type in flow version, it'll give you like a little version for it. So make sure to install the Flow CLI, and I'll put a link to that in the description if you need it. Okay, so then the next step is to do flow init, which is actually going to create a empty flow JSON inside your project, which it did right here. So the only thing you're going to have to do to the flow JSON is in this accounts object right here, you're going to add another object called testnet account. Now I just copy and pasted it, but I'm going to push all this code to GitHub so you can use it. But all you're going to change is you're going to put in this testnet account object, and then you're going to change your address and then your public key. Okay. So you're going to put, again, your address right here and then your private key. Or did I say public key? Your private key right here. Okay. So once you do those two things, you should be done. And just a quick note, make sure to never, publish your private key to GitHub. If you put your private key here, make sure that in your git ignore, if you're putting this in some sort of Git repository, make sure to never commit this file because people will see your private key. Okay. And again, if you're doing mainnet, you can just name this mainnet account, whatever you want. Okay. Now, once you do that, you should be ready to go. So for a little bit of context, this is the contract I have on testnet right now. You'll see that the address I'm using is 0x15a90b, right? Which is 0x15a90b. So it's this account, and in this account I have one contract called Hello World, and all it has is a greeting and then a function to change the greeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my little cadence here, and I'm going to add a function just called log a, and it's not going to do anything. All it's going to do is just log a, which doesn't even do anything on testnet or mainnet anyway. But I'm just going to add a function here so that you can see that it's actually updating correctly. Okay. So inside our, now we can go to our terminal here and type in flow accounts update contract. The name of the contract, which is just hello world. And then the next one is the path to the actual changes. So you can see here it's /cadence/hello world.cdc, then -- network equals testnet. If you're on mainnet, it's equals mainnet, and then -- signer equals testnet account. So this right here, this testnet account, this is coming from this right here. So if you had named it mainnet account, then obviously put mainnet account. Okay. Now when you click enter here, it's going to say transaction ID, updating contract hello world on the account. And once this goes through, we should actually see that it'll update it on the view source. So let's just wait a second here. Let's just keep waiting. And boom. So it said it went through. It said contract updated on the account. So if we go back to our little contract here and refresh the page, now it says log a, right? And the arm to my chair just fell off. That's great. My friend broke it. Anyway, so look, now it updated. That's great. So that's using the Flow CLI. Pretty simple, really easy. I would definitely recommend doing it that way. All you really need is the private key. But I'm going to go over now the way to do it with FCL. So FCL, definitely a little more complicated. And usually people will use FCL if they use a key management service like, AWS KMS or like Google Key Management. I don't even know what it's called. But the key management services, right? You'll have to use FCL for that because you can't just put a private key here, at least I believe. Or, you know, if you already know you need an FCL, then here you go. So in order to do it the FCL way, you're gonna have to do it a little differently. So we're gonna have to actually send a transaction, sign the transaction, and approve the transaction with our private key, and then we're gonna have to code a cadence transaction to actually update the contract. So we're actually gonna have to do it all manually. Okay, so again, all this code is on GitHub, so I'm not gonna spend a lot of time diving into all like what it's doing, but it's on GitHub, and I'll show you like some of the stuff that's going on. So what's happening here is this is just it's a main.js file. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to type in like node main.js here, and it's going to run this file. So it's doing is it's calling perform update, and this is perform update right here. So perform update takes in like a string that is like the new code. So we'll update, you know, this with the new code, obviously. And then, you know, what it does is it sends a transaction with the new code to actually update it. So you'll notice that the cadence actually right here is this is the transaction it's sending. It's a transaction. So this is all cadence code. You actually check it out in cadence update.cdc. It's a cadence transaction that takes in a name of the contract, the cadence code, and then inside here it says let code equals cadence.utf8. So it converts it to like a byte array, I believe. And then you do signer.contracts.update experimental, which is the update function for contracts. You pass in the name of the contract and then the byte array of the contract code. So that's all the cadence transaction is doing. And what I did was I copy and pasted this and put it right here so that we could send it as a transaction. So the arguments to this transaction are hello world, which is the name of our contract. So you could obviously you change this if your contract's named differently. And then the new code. So new code is up here, which is the new code we want to update it with. So right now, what's our contract looking like? This is our contract right now. So I'm going to replace this with what our contract code is right now. And I'm going to add another function called log b. And it's going to be the same exact thing, except it's just going to log b. Okay, so very simple. So it should update it to this now. And so what's going to happen is it's going to pass that new code in as an argument. Hello world is right here. So if your contract's named differently, change that. And then we have some configurables right here. So you don't have to know what this is doing, but if you're curious, this authorization function is an authorizer that it's an authorization function that we build manually to be able to send this transaction on our own backend. So if we scroll up here, authorization function just takes in an account, does a bunch of random signing stuff. And the important part for you to know is that it's signing the transaction with your private key. So you have to change these three things right here in order for this to work for you. Replace private key with your private key. Replace address with the address of the contract, and then you know, the key ID is usually 0. If it's just like a normal account, it's 0. But if you're using some key management service, whatever it may be, you'd have to change the key ID right here. And again, if you're using like AWS KMS or whatever complicated service you're maybe using, then maybe you don't send transactions this way. They might have like a custom function to send transactions or to sign messages or whatever it may be. They may have like a custom way of doing it. So I'm not going to dive into that because that's mostly on, you know, whatever service you're using. But this is, you know, how you would send a transaction using FCL. So yeah, make sure to change these three things as well. Okay. All right. So what you can do is now we have the updated code right here. This is the cadence transaction right here. And theoretically, I believe if we were to type in node main.js, this should work. I hope. So what I did was I added this little like this thing right here that console logs every time the transaction changes status. So it's pending right now. Seems like it's going through all right. It executed. Let's see if it concludes with no errors. All right, apparently it concluded. So if we refresh the page here, oh yeah, it worked. So now there's log b there. So that's how you update a contract using FCL. Again, I didn't go into it too in depth because I've done a bunch of videos on all this signing stuff already. But what you can do is you can just clone this code, copy and paste the code, change a few parameters, and it should be good for you. Oh, and also a couple other things. So this signing function, what it does is it's using, ECDSA P256, which is, I believe, the, the signature algorithm for my account. If you're using ECDSA, like SecP 256K1, then, you know, you have to change that in here as well as inside your code. You would change this variable and you maybe uncomment that and comment this one out to this as well. So that's just a quick note. And yeah, so anyway, I hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the, oh, and also, yeah, one last thing. if using mainnet, make sure to change this to REST mainnet, just like that. And that should be good for you. Okay, cool. Hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.